A young black boy on a quiet street notices a man in need, Keanu Reeves with a flat tire. It sounds like a moment of kindness, right? But what happened next? This small act would change the boy's life in ways he could never have imagined. Stay tuned to find out how one simple gesture turned into a life-changing moment. Don't forget to comment below and let us know where you're watching from. Keanu Reeves sat by himself in his sleek silver Mercedes, drumming his fingers restlessly on the steering wheel. The air conditioning buzzed faintly, barely managing to temper the oppressive heat of a Kentucky afternoon. After decades of success in finance, now retired, Keanu had grown accustomed to life bending to his will. But on that particular day, he was stuck on the side of the road with a flat tire, far removed from the luxuries of his elegant estate just outside the city. Attempts to call for roadside assistance yielded no results, and with a sigh he accepted that waiting was his only option. As frustration began to simmer, he noticed someone approaching in the distance. It was a boy, perhaps 13 or 14, dressed in a worn-out t-shirt and battered sneakers, walking with an air of quiet determination. Keanu watched as the boy studied the car briefly before offering a polite nod. "Got a flat, sir?" the boy asked, his tone calm and assured. "Yes, I do," Keanu replied, both relieved and slightly hesitant. "I was hoping for some help, but I can't get a signal on my phone." The boy gave a small, understanding smile. "I can take care of that," he said confidently, crouching beside the tire. "My grandpa taught me how to change one just last summer." Keanu gestured to the trunk, where the spare tire and tools were kept. The boy set to work quickly, moving with a practiced ease that belied his age. Standing there, Keanu felt an unfamiliar sense of humility creep over him, a stark contrast to his usual confidence. As the boy worked, Keanu thought about offering him a reward, but held back, watching as the young man finished the task without so much as a glance upward. Finally, the boy stood, wiping his hands on his jeans. "All done," he said simply, flashing a small but proud smile. Reaching into his wallet, Keanu pulled out a few bills and extended them toward the boy. "Here," he said, "take this. Thank you for your help." But the boy stepped back, raising a hand in polite refusal. "No, thank you, sir. I don't need anything. Just glad I could help." Keanu stood frozen, the money still in his hand, as the boy turned and walked away, disappearing down the road. Something about the exchange lingered in Keanu's mind, a quiet unease mixed with admiration. Sliding the money back into his wallet, he returned to his car, glancing at the boy's shrinking silhouette in the rearview mirror as he drove away. The drive back was filled with thoughts of the boy, his quiet self-assurance, the way he carried himself with a dignity that came from something other than wealth or power. That evening, sitting alone in his grand home, Keanu couldn't shake the memory. Later, in his study, surrounded by shelves of books he seldom touched, he settled into a leather armchair. The only sound was the measured ticking of a grandfather clock in the corner. His dinner, a perfectly prepared steak with asparagus, remained untouched on the side table as he stared into the stillness, the boy's smile vivid in his mind. Keanu couldn't shake the boy from his thoughts. Over the years, he'd met countless people, partners, employees, investors. Every encounter had its own purpose, a deal to close, a favor to exchange, an expectation to meet. But this boy, a complete stranger, had helped him out of pure kindness, expecting nothing in return. Leaning back, he sipped his scotch, the memory of the boy's confident smile vivid in his mind. He didn't appear to have much. Those scuffed shoes, faded clothes, dust-streaked hands, they all spoke volumes. Yet despite it all, he carried himself with an integrity Keanu rarely saw these days. The next morning, Keanu couldn't resist the pull to find him. He didn't understand why, but there was an unfinished feeling he couldn't ignore. Was it guilt, gratitude, curiosity? Whatever it was, he found himself driving along the same road, scanning the area for the boy. He spent hours stopping at gas stations and diners, asking anyone if they'd seen a boy matching his description. Most simply shrugged or shook their heads until an older woman behind the counter of a small cafe finally spoke up. "Sounds like you're looking for Elijah," she said, wiping her hands on her apron. "That boy's always helping people around here. Lives with his mama over in Harlan." Keanu repeated the name, committing it to memory. "Thank you." Harlan was an hour away, nestled in the Appalachian foothills. The drive was picturesque, but Keanu barely noticed, his thoughts consumed by questions. What kind of life did this boy lead? What kind of family had raised him? When he arrived, Harlan was quiet, its streets lined with simple houses and small shops. After asking a few locals, he was eventually directed to a small house on the town's edge. The house was worn but well kept, its sagging porch adding to its charm. Keanu parked, hesitating as he gathered his thoughts. What was he even going to say? Taking a deep breath, he knocked on the door. A moment later, it opened, revealing a woman in her early 40s. She looked tired, but her sharp, curious eyes took him in. "Can I help you?" she asked. "Good morning," Keanu began, clearing his throat. "Sorry to bother you, but I believe I met your son yesterday. Elijah, right? He helped me with a flat tire." Her expression softened immediately, a small smile forming. "That sounds like my Elijah," she said. "He's always helping folks." "I just wanted to thank him properly," Keanu explained. "He wouldn't take anything from me yesterday." She nodded, stepping aside. "He's out back. You're welcome to wait." Keanu stepped inside, taking in the modest home. The furniture was well worn, but spotless, and the walls were covered with family photos and hand-drawn pictures, likely Elijah's from years ago. It was a stark contrast to his own sleek, impersonal house filled with expensive art. Yet this space radiated warmth and life. She led him to the backyard, where Elijah was busy repairing a fence. The boy looked up, clearly surprised to see him. "Hey," Mr. Elijah said, wiping his hands on his jeans. "What brings you here?" Keanu smiled, feeling an odd sense of unease. "I wanted to say thank you again. You helped me when I was really in need, and I haven't been able to get it off my mind." Elijah shrugged, his face relaxed and open. It wasn't a big deal, but for Keanu, it was more than that, and he was determined to express it. Elijah leaned against the fence, his curious eyes studying Keanu. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The boy's calmness made Keanu feel slightly out of place, almost like he was being evaluated. "You might not realize just how important it was," Keanu said, breaking the silence. "People don't usually help strangers without wanting something back." Elijah tilted his head, as if trying to figure out the statement. "I don't think about it that way," he replied. "If someone needs help and I'm able to, why wouldn't I?" Keanu was taken aback by the straightforwardness of Elijah's view. He glanced beyond the boy, noticing the yard. The fence was patched with different pieces of wood, the grass patchy and uneven. Behind the house stood an old swing set, leaning awkwardly with its rusted chains. It was clear Elijah's family didn't have much, but they made the most of what they had. "You've got a good head on your shoulders," Keanu said sincerely. "Your mum must be proud of you." Elijah smiled, glancing toward the house. "She works hard. I just try to help where I can." Keanu was quiet, reflecting on the boy's words. Memories of his own childhood surfaced, growing up in a similar house where his parents worked endlessly to provide and instilled in him the importance of effort and determination. Over time, he drifted from those lessons, caught up in chasing success and wealth. Standing in this yard, he felt a mix of nostalgia and regret. "I'd like to do something for you and your family," Keanu said finally. Elijah stood straighter, a cautious look on his face. "We're fine, sir. We don't need anything." "It's not about need," Keanu replied firmly. "It's about doing what's right. You help me, and I want to return the favor." Before Elijah could answer, his mother appeared on the porch, drying her hands with a dish towel. "Elijah, come in and wash up for lunch," she called out. Her gaze shifted to Keanu. "Would you like to join us?" "It's nothing fancy, but you're welcome." Keanu hesitated, unused to such an offer, but the genuine warmth in her voice made it impossible to refuse. "I'd like that," he said, following her into the house. Inside, the smell of freshly baked bread and roasted vegetables filled the air. The kitchen was modest, with a small table surrounded by mismatched chairs, but it was clear everything had been prepared with care. Keanu took a seat, feeling oddly out of place in his sharp suit amidst the simple, inviting setting. Elijah rinsed his hands at the sink and joined them at the table, his relaxed grin never wavering. As they ate, Keanu found himself drawn into their lively discussion. Elijah spoke excitedly about his school, his close-knit circle of friends, and his dream of becoming an engineer. His mother chimed in with heartfelt stories about their community, her voice tinged with quiet pride as she described how neighbors supported one another. Keanu listened closely, feeling a sense of warmth he hadn't known in years. Despite his success and immense wealth, his own mansion felt sterile and lifeless compared to this humble home filled with laughter and authentic connection. After the meal, as they cleared the table, Keanu turned to Elijah's mother. "You've done an incredible job raising him," he said. "He has more heart than most people I know." She smiled softly, her eyes gleaming with gratitude. "Thank you. He's a wonderful boy, but it hasn't been easy. We've learned to cherish the little things." Keanu nodded, his mind already racing with ideas. He didn't want to intrude, but leaving without taking action felt impossible. This family had given him something he hadn't even realized he was missing, a reminder of what truly mattered. Keanu left that afternoon feeling a clarity he hadn't experienced in years. As he drove back to his estate, a plan began forming. This wasn't about charity. It was about honoring Elijah's kindness and the family's strength. Elijah and his mother deserved more than squeaky fences and worn-out furniture. They deserved stability and acknowledgement for their daily perseverance. The next morning, Keanu made dozens of calls. He contacted old colleagues, contractors and suppliers, and by noon, everything was set in motion. Within a week, trucks and workers were at Elijah's house. Keanu stood by the sidewalk, clipboard in hand, coordinating the renovations, while Elijah and his mother watched in stunned silence. "You didn't need to do this," Elijah's mother said, her voice trembling as she saw the crew unloading supplies. "We've been managing just fine." Keanu turned to her, his expression sincere. "You've done more than manage. You've thrived. But you gave me something I didn't know I was missing. Please, let me give back." Elijah stood quietly beside his mother, a thoughtful expression on his face. Keanu crouched slightly to meet his eyes. "You've taught me something, Elijah," he said. "Helping isn't just about money. It's about being there, and I want to be there for you." Over the next several weeks, the home was transformed. The sagging porch was replaced with solid new wood, the leaky roof was repaired, and the rusted swing set was swapped for a shiny new one. Inside, walls were freshly painted, the floors polished, and the kitchen outfitted with sleek modern appliances. Initially, Elijah tried to join in, carrying planks and sweeping debris, but Keanu insisted he take a step back. "Your job," Keanu said with a grin, "is to enjoy being a kid for a while." Even so, Elijah couldn't help sneaking outside to watch the workers. His face lit up with curiosity as he observed them measure, cut, and build. Noticing his interest, Joe, a sturdy worker with a kind smile, invited him to help measure wood planks. Before long, Elijah began asking about tools and construction, his enthusiasm spreading to everyone around him. Keanu observed from afar, a deep sense of pride welling up inside. For the first time in years, he felt like his efforts had real meaning, something beyond himself. Elijah's eagerness brought back memories of his own drive and ambition, long before his life became consumed with meetings and financial charts. One evening, as the sun set low in the sky, the renovation was nearly complete. The family gathered on the porch, taking in the incredible transformation. Elijah's mother turned to Keanu, her voice thick with emotion. "This isn't just a house anymore, it's a home. I don't know how we can ever thank you." Keanu shook his head, his voice gentle. "You already have. You reminded me what life should be about. Family, connection, and purpose. If anything, I should be thanking you." The last day of the renovation project felt like a neighborhood celebration. People stopped by to see the changes, bringing small tokens of appreciation, freshly baked bread, jars of jam, even a potted plant. Elijah's laughter filled the yard as he proudly showed off the swing set and newly painted rooms to his friends. The once worn house now exuded warmth and life. Keanu stood on the porch, leaning on the freshly built railing, taking it all in. He hadn't felt this kind of joy in years, pure, unfiltered joy, born from watching others flourish. Elijah's mother approached, offering him a glass of iced tea with a smile. "You've done more than just fix up a house," she said softly. "You've given us hope. And I think you've found something for yourself, too." Keanu nodded as he took a sip. "I have," he admitted. "I spent so many years chasing things I thought mattered. Money, status, influence. But none of it compares to this. None of it ever made me feel this full." As the sun dipped below the horizon, Elijah joined them on the porch, his boundless energy still evident. He looked up at Keanu, his expression thoughtful. "Mr. Keanu," he said, "I've been thinking about what you did for us. I want to do something like that one day. I want to help people too." Keanu placed a steady hand on Elijah's shoulder, his voice calm. "You already are, Elijah. Your kindness set all of this in motion. Don't ever lose that." The three of them sat together, watching as the sky shifted from gold to a rich orange. The warmth of the day lingered, but an even deeper warmth came from their shared connection, gratitude, and sense of purpose. When it was time for Keanu to leave, Elijah and his mother walked him to his car. The boy's broad grin and his mother's tearful smile stayed with Keanu as he drove away. This wasn't an ending, he realized. It was the beginning of a new chapter for all of them. In the weeks that followed, Elijah's curiosity about construction grew into a full-blown passion. Keanu arranged for him to shadow the workers who had helped with the renovations. Elijah soaked up every bit of knowledge, eager to learn. Keanu, meanwhile, found himself returning to Harlan again and again. Each trip felt less like a visit and more like coming home. He no longer felt like an outsider in their lives. He was part of something bigger now. For the first time in years, he felt truly at peace. The story ended where it began, in a small town with a big heart. A simple act of kindness from a young boy reminded an older man of life's greatest truth. It's not about what you have. It's about what you give. If this film touches your heart, leave your mark with a like And don't forget to subscribe to our channel to explore more meaningful stories with us. Share your feelings with us and tell us your own stories. Every word you share is a building block that helps create our strong and enduring community. Together, we'll create a warm space where everyone can share and connect. Finally, don't miss the incredible stories coming your way soon. We're always here to bring you the best selections, full of deep values, yet entertaining. See you there.